Uber. The name is literally a verb, right? And its history, well, it's the kind of stuff Silicon Valley legends are made of. Just full of drama, disruption, and an absolutely staggering amount of cash burn. But the Uber of today looks so different from that chaotic past. So for this explainer, we're boiling down a deep dive analysis into a really concise investment memo. And really, the whole thing comes down to one simple but profound question. Has Uber actually made the leap? Has it truly gone from a startup that was famous for burning billions of dollars into a sustainable, profitable business that actually generates cash? Because the evidence, it really suggests this turnaround isn't just some corporate talking point. It's real, and you can see it in the numbers. So our goal here is to break down that evidence and lay out the investment case for the new, kind of more grown-up Uber. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to start right at the top with the bottom line, the core argument for why Uber looks like an investable company right now. So, our thesis really boils down to these three pillars. First, Uber has a powerful and frankly durable competitive advantage, what investors call a moat. Second, its financial turnaround isn't a theory anymore, it's proven. And third, the company has a strong, disciplined leadership team that made this whole thing happen. We're going to break down each one of these. So, let's kick things off with that competitive moat. What is it that really protects Uber from everyone else trying to get a piece of the pie? Well, it all comes down to one really powerful idea, the network effect. The power of the network effect is kind of beautiful in its simplicity. It just creates this self-reinforcing loop, right? More riders means there's more business, which naturally attracts more drivers. And when you have more drivers, wait times get shorter, coverage gets better, which makes the service better, which, you guessed it, attracts even more riders. It's this virtuous cycle that is incredibly hard for any new competitor to break. And the result of that network effect is just staggering. By the end of 2024, Uber controlled 76% of the US ride-hailing market. Just think about that for a second. For every 4 rides someone books on an app in the US, 3 of them are happening on Uber. That's not just leading the market, that's straight-up market dominance. And here's the thing, it's not just about having more users. It's about having more engaged users. As you can see here, the average Uber user takes about 17 trips. Compare that to only about 8 for its main competitor, Lyft. I mean, Uber's users are more than twice as active. And all that activity just keeps feeding that network effect, making the whole system more efficient and ultimately more profitable. Now, this powerful moat flows directly into the second pillar of our thesis, the financial turnaround. This is where we see all that strategy translate into cold, hard numbers. This timeline, it really tells the whole story. Back in 2017, Uber was basically a financial black hole, losing $4.5 billion. But then the discipline starts to kick in. By 2021, they hit a huge milestone, their first profitable quarter on an adjusted basis. Fast forward to 2023, and they achieved their first ever full year of real, actual profit. And now in 2025, the business is just cranking out billions in free cash flow. It's an absolutely remarkable transformation. So how in the world did they pull this off? Well, the answer really lies in the stark contrast between 2 different eras of leadership. You had the colonic era, which was all about hyper-growth, launch everywhere, fight everyone, and just worry about the costs later. Then, Dara Khosrowshahi takes over in 2017 and brings in a totally new philosophy. It's not just about getting bigger anymore, it's about getting smarter and profitable. He makes these tough strategic retreats from markets that were losing money and focuses on building a sustainable business. That shift in leadership was absolutely the turning point. And you can see the results of that discipline right here in the data from Morningstar's analysis. Now, don't worry about memorizing every single number, just look at the trend. Revenue is climbing, which is great. But the really crucial line here is operating income. Look at that swing, from a loss of nearly $2 billion in 2022 to a projected positive of almost $3 billion in 2024. That, right there, is the engine of the turnaround. All right, but no investment case is ever complete without looking at the risks in the big unknowns, right? For Uber, the biggest variable looming way out on the horizon is the rise of autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles, or AVs, they present this fascinating fork in the road for Uber. On one hand, it's a massive opportunity. I mean, if Uber partners with AV makers like Waymo or Tesla, it can use its incredible network to deploy these vehicles, potentially lowering costs and expanding its margins like crazy. But on the other hand, it could be an existential threat. What if those same companies just decide to build their own ride-hailing apps and cut Uber out completely?
This is the central debate that's going to shape Uber's next decade, for sure.
Now, beyond AVs, there are other important risks you got to keep on the radar. Those regulatory battles over whether drivers are employees or contractors, they're far from over, and that could really impact costs. The food delivery space is still a total knife fight, which puts pressure on how much money they can make. And of course, if we hit a major recession, people might cut back on rides and food delivery. These are all very real headwinds that management has to navigate. So after weighing the strengths of the business against all these risks, what's the final verdict on the investment case? Well, it really brings us back to those three core pillars. Uber has a durable moat from its network that competitors find nearly impossible to copy. It has proven, without a doubt, that it can be profitable and generate a lot of cash. And it has the right leadership team in place, a team that already pulled off one of the most impressive turnarounds in recent tech history. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from Morningstar's August 2025 report just says it perfectly. The transition is complete. The debate is no longer if Uber can be profitable. The company has already crossed that chasm. So, the really crucial point is this. The whole story has shifted. The drama of the turnaround is over. The new question, the one that's going to drive the company's value from here on out, is all about scale and expansion. Just how much of the world of moving people and food and things can the Uber platform ultimately capture? And that, well, that's a question worth watching.